Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Elevated Creativity Podcast. I'm your host, Kwalanda, aka Q of Q Up Productions.
I'm your host, Jonathan Harris, aka John of Montyangelo.
And today is a very special episode because today we have our very first guest on the Elevated Creativity Podcast. The first few episodes you guys got to hear me and John talk and talk some more about our background, giving you guys advice about working on set, the entertainment industry, and all of that good stuff. So we're really excited to have a guest who is special to me because we go back like college days back. That's 10 plus years. And this is somebody who I am just definitely so proud of, so proud to know him. He is a beast in his field. He's had a wonderful journey, elevating his creativity and taking his talents from one level to the next. And so without further introduction, we are going to introduce Mr. Chris James of Montyangelo Productions. He is a successful photographer here in Atlanta, Georgia. So welcome to the show, Chris.
Greetings. Thanks, Kwalanda. Thanks for having me. It's good to be here. Definitely honored to be a part of the show.
Nice. Welcome. So before we dive in and start pretty much asking you all your beautiful life and professional questions, let's just start with a little bit of background, Chris, just pretty much about who you are, what you do, your journey. Because I know, like I said, you are a successful photographer now, but you didn't necessarily start out that way. So if you don't mind just kind of sharing with us and the audience a little bit about, who you are, how you got your start, how you pretty much took your creative talents from one level to the next.
Okay. Well, I'm trying to think of how far I should go back. I grew up in Noonan, Georgia. Been in Atlanta since 2007. Came over here for school. Went to Georgia State where I met Kwalanda back in, what year was that?
Like 2008.
2008 we met, okay.
Yes.
Crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I've always been creative at heart. Art was my first passion. I started drawing in the second grade. But I never really thought about taking it any further because I was just old school, give me a sketch pad and a pencil. And that was my thing. I never really wanted to get into the graphic design, which I knew the money was in that, but it just didn't call me like that. I was just always trying different things. I got to college and probably the seed was really planted when we met. I actually met Cassandra first and she introduced me to you.
Mm-hmm. And shout out to Cassandra Powell. She is a dope playwright, director, producer. She's taken over the theater world. So shout out to her.
Absolutely. I still remember the day I was at Georgia. It was one morning. I was at Chick-fil-A at Georgia State. To me, she was like, "Hey, I'm doing I'm filming a short film soon. I want you to come out and audition." I'm like, I'm not an actor. I didn't have any experience, but it's crazy because I kind of going back to high school. I had this vision of me in film. Whether it was acting in it or just behind the camera, it just kind of popped up. So it kind of made sense. It just kind of came a little sooner than I thought. And I was nervous, I can't lie. But I think I call you back that night and I come out and audition. And the rest is history with that. And so did that for a little bit, ended up doing a little theater with Cassandra actually. The theater production, working behind the scenes. I think once I started working behind the scenes, that kind of gave me an even greater appreciation just for the artistry because I saw it built up from the ground up. Mm-hmm. So that kind of changed my perspective on it. And then really, I just been behind the camera ever since. Got my camera originally for a film project that I was going to do, but that didn't pan out. So I had this digital professional camera. I said I might as well get some use for it and just learn how to take pictures at my job. Just volunteering as a volunteer photographer, and word just slowly spread around the company that I was the photographer, and started with work, and then I reached out to some friends of mine who are entrepreneurs. Just said, hey, I got this camera, I want to come out and provide some photography services or videography just for free. You know, I didn't charge initially because I just wanted to see how, you know, how good I could get, how good I could be. And yeah, they liked the work and posted some stuff on Instagram. And yeah, I was in business. So it just really came. I never could have planned it. It's life, life.
So Chris, let me ask you a question.
Mm-hmm.
When you say you first started with your passion as in art, as an artist,
Yeah.
what was your favorite like art medium or like genre? Pretty much, were you like more into comic books? Like, were you into like, you know, like real life drawings? Like what was when you first started with art? How old were you when you first started with art?
I was second grade. How old are, I guess second grade, you like what, 6?
Yeah, about 6.
Yeah, 6 or 7.
I remember the day. I call it the spark, because I always ask people like, why do you do what you do? My theory is it's a spark. It's like something just hits you, inspires you to do. I still remember I was sitting on the recliner. I was watching this cartoon called Mighty Max. I think what's the name of it.
Yeah.
And my mom was in the kitchen. Something just made me get up and get a piece of paper and some crayon and just draw Mighty Max. And I went and showed my mom. She said, "Oh, that's good, son." And I to this day, I believe that by her co-signing it, it just kind of fueled me to really pursue. I always wondered if she had like asked me what was it, or I always wondered how that would have impacted my art. But yeah.
Okay. And
I don't think I answered your question. My bad. I like to draw people. That was my thing. I guess like photo, like realism. Yeah, I just really like to draw people.
Okay. How long were you so you said from like second grade? When did you do you still do art now, or you kind of like, has it fizzled out a little bit?
Man, it's I'm bad with it, man. I draw maybe a couple times a year now.
Okay.
Yeah, it really so once I started getting involved with a lot of other things, it just kind of went to the back burner.
But I like one of the things that you mentioned to us beforehand was that it kind of led the way. Like you went from drawing people to actually capturing real life photos,
Yeah.
you know, and taking pictures. And I think that that's really neat, you know, because everything is like a step ladder to get you to that destination. So it's kind of like from drawing to even dipping your toe into acting and then transitioning to behind the scenes. And it's funny that you mentioned how it gave you a new respect once you saw how much goes in, because you have acting experience in front of the camera, but also in theater. And those are two different worlds. And John, we haven't even talked about the theater world. And that, which is something I have experienced because I actually worked on a couple of those productions with Chris as assistant director and a stage manager. And they're two different worlds, but it's so much. And John, remember how we were talking about people are so quick to kind of judge content without even thinking about everything that goes into, you know, getting it done and getting the finished product out there to the masses. So, Chris,
I forgot to mention.
Go ahead.
My bad. I forgot to mention one step in the journey. I did stand-up comedy.
That's right.
Yeah, that was after the acting. I just got into stand-up. I did stand-up, I guess, about a solid year. Mostly around Metro Atlanta area. I even went to Birmingham once. Birmingham showed love. And I think that phase of my journey definitely, I think, instilled a lot of confidence. Just to be on stage and making a group of strangers laugh.
Oh, it takes so much confidence
Yeah.
to do comedy.
Yeah, so yeah, I got to mention that part though. Yeah.
So I want to ask a question. I know even with Q, you said that Q had walked up to you. I was at Chick-fil-A and came up to you and said she wanted you to audition for her short film. Mm-hmm. And then that's kind of funny because Q, she said she was kind of shy with certain people, but that's another story. But what gave you the confidence to just do something that you've done before and you say, you know what, I'm going to audition in the act? Because that was your first project acting-wise, correct?
Yeah, very first, absolutely.
Okay. So it's like, what gave you the confidence to just be like, okay, I'm a audition for this, and I'm just gonna go like full throttle with acting, and then even dive into the comedy world. You know what I'm saying? What gave you that confidence to do that?
On the acting side, I think I did have the vision for it back in high school. So when Colunda approached me, I saw it as like a sign. And I saw it as like an opportunity that I was supposed to take at that moment. And one thing about me, I never want to I always like do different things. Because I never want to look back and like regret and like not doing something. Mm-hmm. For me, I'd rather just do it, even if I'm like nervous or whatever. I'd rather just take that chance and just do it. On the comedy, everybody was just telling me, hey, you need to do comedy, because I would always be the person to make people laugh. And I also saw that as a sign, because, they say, like, the spirit of God, or whatever term you want to use it, like, speaks to other people. So if a lot of people were saying it, I feel like I just had an obligation, really, to at least try it once. I was at least try it once. Yeah, it was fun, though. I definitely used the stage.
And you know what's funny, Chris? I actually just remembered you actually had a little cameo in The Single Life season 1. John, I don't know if you remember, Chris, do you even remember? You were the pizza delivery guy.
That's right.
And that was like to kind of tie into your stand-up comedy. Like was spur of the moment. You know what I'm saying? It was like spur of the moment. Chris, I think you had like a hat, a polo shirt or whatever, and we found an old pizza box and you just kind of freestyled it. And like every time we did a take, he said something funny and it was like improv, but it was like perfect.
Right. The first time I did improv was the audition that we did for Time for Love. The first one. That was the first ever. I'd never done anything like that.
Yeah. And that just goes to show, because on one of the other episodes, Chris, me and John talked about your network and how your network is your net worth and how valuable and important it is, the people that you surround yourselves with, right? And I even just think back to, because even with John, even though me and John didn't go to school together, that was the time in my life that I met him. And I feel like I met some of the people that had the biggest impact on my life during those college years when we were all kind of just figuring things out, right? Like you said, we were all kind of like being fearless, just trying stuff, like with me, with the short film of Time for Love, with you with acting, with John branching off into the different film projects that he was working on, transitioning his art from storyboard artist to producing and visual artist. And I think that the fact that we all partnered together, you know what I'm saying, and kind of encouraged each other, and we all had a playground, because even with theater, with Cassandra's stage play, that was my first time working in theater. Like I had no idea, I had done like soundboards and stuff before in the church, but that was my first time actually, because remember I was running the lights and the audio, like when we went to New York and all that stuff.
Yeah,
and
I remember.
That was something new to me that I had never done. But it's really cool to have a circle of people. And the fact that even now today, if we don't talk every day, we still support each other. Absolutely. Like thanks to social media, like, cause I asked John, I was like, have you seen Chris's work? Like his pictures are dope. And he was like, of course. So just the fact that we are able to still support each other 10 plus years later, you know what I mean? Like whether we're acting or doing stand-up comedy or producing. So I just think that that's really dope,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
John, you got something you were going to say?
I was just trying to digest this hot coffee. I think I made it a little too hot. Burned all my tongue, but it's cool.
Oh, Lord.
But I do, to add on what you were saying, Q, I do think that's amazing. Like, social media was definitely a blessing to just, you can stay in contact with everybody. And when you have, when you have like good relationships with people and even just networking, once you have those great experiences, it never dies. So like, even if you, like we had our encounter, because I just remember that episode of The Single Life when you just brought it up. We had so many memories, and it's like, I remember that day. So just remembering that and just going forward, we always keep a good relationship with people and everything. I think that's a beautiful thing.
Chris, one of the things I want to ask you about, I want you to elaborate a little more on that you talked about, because one of the things we want to talk to our audience about is how to monetize your talents and your gifts, to take your talents from just a hobby to an actual profession or a career or your own business. And so I know you mentioned that when you first started photography, a lot of the stuff you did initially was pro bono for you to kind of get the experience. You reached out to, like you said, your job, when they needed a photographer, like you took advantage of those opportunities.
Absolutely.
To kind of get the experience. Like you didn't come out the gate like, you got to pay me $5,000 even though you never took a picture before. And even like you said, with your business owner friends, your entrepreneur friends. So talk a little bit more about that, how you were able to kind of transition from doing the pro bono work to when you knew that, okay, I'm at a point now where I can start charging for my services.
Yeah, I think it happened slowly. So jumping out the gate, to me, I tell people you want as many people to know about what you do as possible. So early on, I just got a camera. Nobody really knew. So just doing work for free, that allowed me to, even though I wasn't, because we always get paid. I don't think compensation is always monetarily.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. So it was. So I reached out to people and just did a little work for free. What that did, it allowed me to, one, put my skills, like let people see my skill set, and allow me to get better. And it allowed a lot more people to know that I was doing photography. So I knew that if I could get the people to know about what I do, and if I provided good work, then the rest could just fall in place. So shortly after that, I just started doing more work. So those same friends, they were asking, like, how can I pay you for these services? So at that point, I got the first couple of checks. And once I got my first couple of checks, that's when I kind of started, okay, I think I might be on to something. And from there, the focus, for me, I've never been money focused. I've tried to live that way before. It's just not really my nature. To me, I just focus on the craft of it, just getting better and better. And I think that resulted in getting more clients and getting more revenue.
I think that's dope. So when you say you weren't really focused on the money, you kind of got paid through the experience and through the experience, through the relationship.
Absolutely, and a lot of times, because I tell people, even if you do a job for free, it's still not really for free, because one, anytime I work with somebody, anytime anybody works with anybody, you have access to that person's whole network.
That's true.
That could be tens, if not hundreds of people. If you do a good job with that one person, word of mouth, they say that's still the best form of marketing. So you might not get paid on that job, but you're going to get that back end.
Most definitely.
That back end game is strong.
Yeah.
Hey, that's it. I got you. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. And a lot of people don't really understand that. Like, I think that's how to kind of like relate to you. That's kind of how I did my thing as well too. Some stuff I really didn't know, but I just tried to jump out there with the confidence of learning. So it was a learning thing for me, and it gave me like a hands-on experience to actually learn, like hands-on. But it also, when it turned out good, it's okay, cool. It's like it grew and built something. And also on the bad side, it wasn't too many bad sides, but they didn't lose anything as well. So even if it wasn't as as big as it could have been for them, it still was like, okay, it was a learning experience for both of us. So I think that was a beautiful thing.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And so, Chris, just to get a little more specific in case we have some aspiring photographers out there. Well, before we get into that question that I have, just to give the audience a more insight to you and your production company, can you talk a little bit about what your focus is, like the type of photography? Because, you know, people say photography, but there's a lot of different type of photography out there. So can you just talk more about like what your focus is and some of your fortes?
My focus is really just is working with the people. I feel like I've always just been a man of the people. I focus on really enhancing whatever endeavor anybody is working on at the time. So whether it's like, if they want to use the pictures to, let's say, get a new job or for some headshots, or they want to, if it's just like it's a birthday shoot or a family shoot, however those pictures can make their lives better, that's my intention behind the photography. Because I've had one young lady reach out to me. I shot her last year. She was new to Atlanta, and she wanted to get acclimated into the acting scene. And she reached out. We had a headshot session. She loved the photos, and she texted me about a few weeks later and said, you know, through those pictures, she was able to land multiple auditions, and she was able to get a role. So I was like, oh, that's really the purpose of it. That's that's why I do it.
Yeah. Okay, that's good. And that even though you're being compensated for your work, that in itself is compensation, to know that you kind of are changing and helping to enhance the trajectory of somebody's career, right? Because like, say maybe she didn't have those pictures of those, because, you know, me and John as producers know headshots, that's your foot through the door, because that's the first thing that producers look at, you know, because we like put people to the side for bad headshots. Like, we don't even want to hear you read in an audition sometimes.
Okay.
I seen somebody headshot look like a selfie. They was sitting in their car.
And we saw like, a couple of those.
Yeah, they had like trash on the back seat and everything. They had phone up in the air. It was funny.
So, Chris, with the type of photography that you do, so you're more so individual, you know, real people. And I've seen your work. So I've seen you do like maternity shoots, graduation pictures, headshots, family photos, even just like people building their brands. Because we're doing my session soon. I know I still got to book you to do the Q Up brand photo shoot. So a sidebar. But so that's different from like somebody who like maybe their main focus, even though you have dabbed in event photography, but somebody else whose focus may be, say, event photography or being the behind the scenes photographer. So how do you, without getting to, you can get as specific as you want to, whatever you're comfortable, but how do you kind of set your prices, or how do you kind of set, you know, your rate sheets to say, I'm going to charge this amount for this type of shoot, or this amount per hour, or fixed rate? So, because you are the boss of your company, you are the CEO, the entrepreneur. So what factors do you use to kind of determine to set your pricing?
I looked at a couple of things. I did a Google search and just saw like what was the average going rates for that specific type of photography, whether it's event photography or portrait photography or maternity, etc. Then I also compared that with some of really just competitors in Atlanta, other photographers, and see what they were charging. And the third piece was I took all of that data and said, okay, what am I comfortable? I think that may be the most key. What am I comfortable? Because especially starting out, I mean, I could have charged $200 for a session, but I felt like I'm very honest with myself. I charge what I feel like my service is worth, like the quality of my work. So that's the third piece that I use to determine my pricing. Yeah, I think that last piece might be the most key, because you really got to be confident that people are getting the value that you're providing. So I hope that answers the question.
And being honest with yourself, right?
Being honest with yourself, yeah, because you look at your work and say, hey, you got to ask yourself, would I pay this?
Hey, that is so true.
Yeah, I mean, especially in a place like Atlanta. I mean, because y'all know it's photographers everywhere, like just entertainment and creative arts in general. You know, everybody's a singer, everybody's a rapper, everybody's a photographer, everybody's a movie director. And so to be able to kind of set yourself apart, you know, as a real deal, like, no, I'm like real about this and my work speaks for itself. You know, it boils down to the work, and it boils down to one, like you said, the confidence in yourself to do the work, and then also the finished product that you have.
Yeah, and also with my case, my prices are still very reasonable compared to a lot of people with the same like quality of work. The reason behind it is going to be changing in 2021, but but the reason behind that, it took me really. I was doing photography for maybe 2 years until I really owned being a photographer. Because I felt like just because I had a camera doesn't mean I earned the stripes to call myself a photographer. I think that I really kind of had to go, because I'm very hard on myself. I felt like I had to go through like an initiation to get to a point I was comfortable with like owning the title of photographer. So, and still throughout this year, I was just, I mean, I'm very confident with where I am, but still humble enough to know that it's still a lot I don't know. And I'm just daily just focused on getting better.
Now, you know, me and you met a while ago, you know, back in the, what was it, around about 2000, about 11, 2012, something like that? I think about 2000, I believe.
It might have been. No, it might have been. Was it before that, Quilanda?
Yeah, it was around the time we finished up A Time for Love, the short. So, because John came to the premiere we had at the house, and that was in like 09, I think.
I sure did.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so my thing was when I first met you, you know, I knew you as Chris Montgomery. Okay. So I don't know if you want to answer the question. I would just wonder what made the name change.
Well, I'm still Chris Montgomery. It's really, I chose Christopher James. James is my middle name. I decided to go with that. I feel like it had an artistic ring to it, you know, if you will.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel like it looks like a photographer name.
I got you.
Yeah, that was kind of the story behind that. Just kind of use my middle name instead. Yeah.
Okay, so it wasn't like a legal name change, right?
No. Yeah, I just put my middle name in there as the last. Yeah, it's crazy because a lot of people, like, they think my last name. I thought your last name was James.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, it's just my middle name. Yeah.
But now, so it's more like a creative, melodic kind of like.
There you go.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah.
Okay,
and see, John,
cool.
I told John, all of us have not even aliases. Well, yeah, our aliases, our creative names that we go by, just like I go by Q. John goes by John, Johnny T. John got a lot of names. He got a lot of aliases. But
if I hear somebody call my name on the street, I know either the run, the walk up to them, slap five, or whatever. So I know.
Yeah, and a lot of people still call me Monty too. That was more so like when I was on comedy. That was really my stage name, Monty. But a lot of people.
Okay. Yeah. Do you have any of your comedy clips? Was there any of videographed and stuff?
There is one out there on Facebook. I would have to pull it. It's just one though, man. I wish I had more. But yeah, it's still one out there. It's a pretty solid one. It's a solid 5 minutes, I think.
Okay, we're definitely at the in Hummer's a Throwback Thursday. We're definitely at the
Indeed.
Yeah.
And then go ahead, Q. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Okay, Chris, let me ask you a question. I know Q normally asks these questions, but what were some of your challenges and your obstacles on this journey as far as like transitioning from an artist to a photographer and being in the game, being as a photographer? What are some of your challenges and obstacles? Because we heard your inspirations and some things that kind of like kept you going. What were some things that kind of was, bumps in the road?
And throughout this photography or just the whole journey?
I would say I would say you can just kind of elaborate for the whole journey.
Whole journey.
Yeah, because I'm saying like from to make it specific, I'll say from going into photography, and I know you said you kind of like get out of the film realm, and also even comedy. Like, what made you kind of like transition into kind of one thing? So what were some things that kind of made you go in one direction?
Oh man, you know what's crazy? Because I feel like I was really getting better at comedy. I feel like if I had stayed in that lane, it definitely would have took me somewhere. But because I think I've always had like a certain level of awareness of what's going on in like the world and the community. And it was around the time the Trayvon Martin case was happening. And I remember like I was working, I was in corporate America at that time. I was working from home, and I was just glued to the TV, man, just glued to the trial. And I'm like, how can I be out here telling jokes when it's nothing really funny right now? So I kind of went through a phase where I was just kind of stopped being funny. I think naturally I'm not naturally funny, but back when I was doing comedy, it was like a zone that I was tapped into. It's kind of hard to describe it, but it's like a lane that's like an energetic lane that you step into. And I had just kind of tapped out of that, man, because I was just really like, man, thinking about like just a state of, you know what I'm saying? And so that kind of just naturally led me to, I didn't know what was next, I was still open to comedy, and then too, comedy was a different grind. Because I was working, I was working a 9 to 5, and after the 9 to 5, you got the 5 to 9.
Yeah.
But with the comedy, it was more like 5 to 12, because I would hit the stage. Let's say it would be weekdays, like show up. They call it show up and go. Just get on the list, open mic. You might be in that first 5 that they call up to the stage, or you might be the second to the last. You just never know. So you kind of just waiting around till your number call. The show might have started at 8, but with CP time, it might have really kicked off at like 9 o'clock. The time you get on stage to do your thing and get home, it might be like 11:30, 12. So it was really, and then too with comedy is, you kind of really got to do that for a while to get your name out there till you start
get that buzz going.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah, until you start getting that show money. So it was like, dang, so those two combined, it's like, okay. And then photography is just, I guess it's just divine timing, man, because there was no intentions around being a photographer. And so that just kind of led me to the camera. And challenges with the photography, it was more of a natural fit, I would say. It just kind of happened naturally. I think that's how I knew that I was on to something, maybe with longevity. And some of the challenges, though, early on was just knowledge gaps, not really knowing what to do in certain situations. Because with photography, you doing a shoot, especially if it's like a paid client and they paying you well, a lot of times you have to it's a lot of problem solving that you have to do. Whether location or lighting or whatever comes up, and you gotta be quick on your feet.
Well, definitely.
So to help you make better decisions, you gotta know more. So early on, I just didn't. It was a knowledge gap, but I mean, YouTube University was definitely helpful.
Most definitely.
Also going to work. What really helped me too, going to workshops in Atlanta and being able to learn from some of the pros. So I think knowledge gap, and then equipment also. Maybe not having the capital to get you. You need that better equipment, but it's okay. Let me save up for this, and then being able to finally get it, or you end up renting it, which is good. And I think those were the main two challenges.
And Chris, you actually just mentioned some really good points, because I'm just thinking, like, if I'm an aspiring photographer and I'm listening to this, because a lot of people just don't know where to start, right? Like, of course, a lot of the iPhones now have bomb cameras, and so some people may start with that. But like, how do you, I like that you mentioned kind of knowing how to tap into your resources, because like you mentioned one thing, which is renting equipment, which is something we did a lot earlier back in the day, because we didn't necessarily have everything we needed. So we would rent lights, we would rent audio equipment.
Zoom. I mean, hit that phone call. Q, you got the Zoom already? I just ran the Zoom. John, you can pick it up. I can pick it up. Most definitely.
Yeah.
Exactly. So like that's good, and I want people to know that that's not always necessarily an excuse, you know, because some people may say, well, I don't have the money to start my business, you know, and if you may not have, and then it's like, well, if I don't have the money to start and I can't charge for my services, how do I even get started? Right. And so like you said, even by building your network, by going to different workshops, by like working with people that are in your immediate circle, because it may be starting out taking pictures on a phone until you can upgrade to a camera and knowing which camera to get.
I'm glad you said that, because I forgot one step in the journey. I'm sorry. I think the seed was planted initially also 2015. I had like a Galaxy, whatever Galaxy was out. And I would just, playing around, just taking pictures on my phone. And I would be that guy who, if I went on a group trip with some friends, I'm the dude like taking the pictures, sending the album out like on Google Photos. And so that, I actually at some point, because I was getting a lot of feedback just through Instagram, my personal Instagram at the time, like people really liked the pictures. So I created a blog with like just pictures from my cell phone. So I tell people, a lot of people have asked me, like they don't have the funds to get a $1,000 or even $500 camera. I said, start with your phone, because these phones are nowadays, they're basically like $1,000 phones, smartphones.
Right, they're the same price as the cameras.
Yeah, and the cameras, and a lot of situations you wouldn't use a phone to really do professional work really, but just starting out and developing an eye and just taking good, definitely do it with a cell phone. So at least you can start with that. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, Chris, before we get ready to wrap up, because we want to make sure that we definitely give you an opportunity to let people know how they can find you, how they can book you for your work, how they can see your work, how they can follow you. Do you have any assistants that work with you, or like an internship program or anything like that for young aspiring photographers to kind of like shadow you?
Not yet. That's a gap. I am building that out. Slowly building my team. I got a makeup artist a few months ago.
Nice.
Looking for some assistants, some interns, just to come out to different shoots, maybe like help with lighting, equipment and stuff like that. And I'm actually stepping into offering courses, like one-on-one courses, teaching people like newcomers to photographer, like intro to photography, basically how to use your camera. And I'm slowly building all that out. Yeah, and open to any interns if y'all know anybody, or if you can put it out to your people. I'm definitely open to that.
All right. And if you're listening to the podcast, or if you're watching it on our YouTube channel, you've heard it right here, right now. We'll make sure Chris's information is in the show notes. It's going to be in not the comment section, but the info section, again, on the YouTube channel, as well as on the audio podcast. But Chris, we thank you so much for taking out the time to join me and John on the show today. Thank you for being our first. Hopefully this won't be your last time on the show,
I'm honored. I'm glad to be here. Glad to be the first guest for y'all. And I appreciate you, Q. Appreciate you, John.
Thank you.
No problem, bro. We really appreciate you.
Yes. So Chris, go ahead and shout out all your social media handles, your website, all of the information that the people can use to find you.
You can find me at Montyangelo, Montyangelo, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. I'm not really on Twitter that much, but I do have a Twitter account. Instagram is the best way to get at me. Website, montyangelo.com. And that's how you can find me.
Nice. All right, John, do you have anything else to say or add before we close out the show?
Man, I just want to tell you, man, I really appreciate you being a guest on this show. And it was very informative, not only for our audience, but I learned a lot myself. So it was like, I think that's some great info for people to just, to inspire other creators. Because I know I tried to, I didn't really dig into like photography, but I know that's a hard field to get into, and there's a lot of knowledge you got to really learn. You said some powerful things, especially about like lighting, knowing when the sun is coming up. Okay, the sun set around this time. You got light casting this way, and when you're doing all that by yourself and figuring everything out, being quick on your feet, I think that those are some amazing things. But we're not gonna hold you up, Chris. We really appreciate you, brother. Don't be a stranger, man.
Definitely won't, brother. Appreciate you also, Q. And,
yes.
I really enjoy it. Appreciate you.
Thanks, Chris. All right, guys. Well, this has been another episode of the Elevated Creativity Podcast. Thank you for tuning in, and we will catch you next time.